Elliot lived by the clock. Every day was the same. He woke at 6 o'clock sharp. He ate oatmeal for breakfast, always measuring exactly half a cup of rolled oats and 2/3 cup of milk. Elliot worked as a librarian, a job that suited his quiet nature. He surrounded himself with books. They were his safe haven, predictable and constant. After work, Elliot would return to his small, tidy apartment. He'd make a simple dinner, read for an hour, and be in bed by 10 o'clock. His life was a carefully constructed routine. It was safe, controlled, and utterly unbearably monotonous. Elliot knew his life lacked something. He saw it in the faces of couples walking hand in hand. He felt it in the silence of his empty apartment. He just didn't know what was missing. He didn't know how to change. One Saturday, Elliot decided to visit an art gallery. It was a rare departure from his routine, prompted by a fleeting desire to experience something new. The gallery was filled with light and color. Paintings lined the walls, each one a window into a different world. Elliot wandered through the gallery, his eyes scanning the artwork. He stopped in front of a painting that took his breath away. It was an abstract piece, a riot of colors swirling together on the canvas. The painting seemed to pulse with an energy that drew Elliot in. He stood there for a long time, mesmerized. "You seem captivated," a voice said. Elliot turned to see a woman standing beside him. She had bright, lively eyes and a warm smile. "I'm Clara," she said, extending her hand. "I painted that." Elliot shook her hand, feeling a jolt of surprise. The woman in front of him radiated the same energy as her painting. "Elliot," he managed to say, "it's stunning." Elliot found himself returning to the gallery every week. He was drawn to Clara's art, to its vibrancy and life. He was also drawn to Clara herself. She was the opposite of him, spontaneous, adventurous, and full of life. They would talk for hours about art, about life, about everything and nothing. Clara told him stories of her travels, her dreams, her fears. She listened patiently as Elliot spoke about his own life, his words hesitant at first, then flowing more freely. Clara had a way of making Elliot see the world differently. She encouraged him to try new things, to step outside of his comfort zone. He started small, ordering a different coffee, taking a different route to work. Each small change gave him a sense of accomplishment, a feeling that he was capable of more than he thought. One evening while they were having dinner, Clara shared some news. "I got accepted into an artist residency program," she announced, her eyes sparkling, "in Paris." Elliot felt a pang of happiness for her, quickly followed by a wave of sadness. He knew how much this meant to Clara. He also knew what it meant for them. "That's amazing, Clara," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "When do you leave?" "In 2 months," she replied. She reached across the table and took his hand. "I want you to come with me." Elliot's heart skipped a beat. He looked at Clara, her face full of hope and something else, something that made his breath catch in his throat. He wanted to say yes, to throw caution to the wind and embark on this adventure with her, but fear, that old familiar feeling, held him back. The next few weeks were a blur for Elliot. Clara was busy preparing for her move. Elliot, on the other hand, was paralyzed by indecision. The thought of leaving everything he knew, his routine, his comfort zone, filled him with anxiety. He thought about his life, the predictable monotony of it. He realized that while it was safe, it was also empty. Clara had shown him that life was about more than just existing. It was about experiencing, taking risks, and embracing the unknown. One evening, Elliot went to Clara's studio. She was packing up her paints, her movements filled with a mix of excitement and apprehension. He watched her for a moment, his heart heavy. "I can't go with you, Clara," he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. Clara stopped packing and turned to face him. Her expression wasn't one of anger or disappointment, but of understanding. "Why not, Elliot?" she asked softly. "I'm scared," he admitted, the words tumbling out of his mouth. "Scared of leaving everything I know, scared of failing, scared of..." He paused. "Scared of feeling this much for you." Clara's eyes softened. She stepped closer to Elliot, her hand reaching out to gently cup his cheek. "I know, Elliot," she whispered, "but you're not alone in this. I'm scared too." Her words broke down the last of his resistance. In that moment, surrounded by Clara's love and understanding, Elliot made a decision. He would face his fears. He would take the leap. 2 months later, Elliot found himself standing in a bustling Parisian airport, his heart pounding in his chest. He scanned the crowd, searching for a familiar face, and then he saw her, Clara. Her smile, as radiant as the Parisian sunshine, reached her eyes. She rushed towards him, her arms open wide. He met her halfway, pulling her close, breathing in the scent of her hair, a mixture of paint and something uniquely Clara. "You came," she whispered, her voice filled with emotion. "I did," he replied, his voice thick with unshed tears. "I did." Paris was everything Elliot had never known he wanted. It was a city that pulsed with life, art, and 1,000 different stories. He spent his days exploring with Clara, wandering through museums, strolling along the Seine and getting lost in the city's charming streets. He watched Clara thrive in the artist residency program, her talent blossoming with each passing day. He saw a new side of her, a fierce determination mixed with a vulnerability that took his breath away. And as he fell deeper in love with Clara, he realized something profound. Life wasn't about avoiding falls. It was about having the courage to fall, to risk it all for the chance to experience something extraordinary. He had fallen, truly fallen, for Clara. And in that fall, he had discovered a strength he never knew he possessed. A capacity for love and adventure that had always been there, hidden beneath the surface. He had learned the art of falling, and it was more beautiful, more terrifying, and more exhilarating than he could have ever imagined.